Hello, friends. We're definitely hanging outside again because we love it so much. It's green, it's bright. I mean, you can see our wrinkles a little bit more, but that's beside the point. Hey, we're older. You know, Kristen, what's going on in your life? Wait a minute. I'm going to do the prediction.
You tell me. Oh, yeah, what is it?
I think that Kristen is probably working on one of her houses for her mother that they purchased in that 1031 exchange.
I would like to show you my phone case if you want to know.
Yeah, she's still doing it.
I had to put my hair up because I keep finding paint in my hair, and
I've seen that paint.
yeah.
And when you get paint in your hair, it's hard to get out.
I know, and my hair's dark, and so it shows. Anyway.
Well, Easter's passed, so I can certainly say we're not really doing a whole lot of chocolate.
Till Mother's Day.
Till Mother's Day. Here's a Mother's Day plug. I have been working on some fun other little projects, thinking about some maybe miracle stories on little postcards to send out to people. But also, we are going to be doing something really fun. In addition to these podcasts, we're going to be doing little faith bombs, and these are just 5-minute stories that will intro you.
This is inspired by chocolate bombs, but now have faith.
But they're going to be faith bombs, and they're going to be amazing. So you'll have to wait and see how they turn out. I'm still waiting to see how they turn out because I haven't done it yet. Anyways, that's what's going on in my life and Kristen's life. Aside from weather being beautiful in Utah for a minute, last week it was very cold.
Probably next week it'll be very cold.
Yeah. And then Mother's Day happens and we plant the gardens. Tell us what you're doing. If you're planting the gardens right now where you live. I know some people have. My nephew's got his garden all planted. So I'm a little jealous. But anyways, glad you're here. We're going to be talking about something a little bit different along the lines of miracles. And mostly, we are pursuing this whole miracle journey as part of building our relationship with the Lord and learning how to have that confident relationship, because it is a relationship. It's a back and forth, right?
Right.
So today we're going to talk about following through with some of the promptings we do get. I know how easy and comfortable it is to sit in a place where you feel good. Sometimes I would be that person, well, probably most of the time I would be that person who would go to church and I would listen to the lesson that was given and I would feel the Spirit and I would feel so comfortable in that. And then I'd go home and I would do nothing. I just, enjoyed feeling that Spirit. But what the Lord's asking us to do now is take a little bit more of a step forward and follow up with an action to what the Spirit is testifying as truth to us.
Yeah, and I don't know that ever just comes. I don't think that ever comes to you. I've waited for a long time to have that courage to say something to someone, and it just never comes until you actually make it happen. You have to make that choice, and I'm sure you get help. We get help sometimes, but I think the Lord's like, look, you know what to say. And we think, no, we don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. What do I say? And he's like, just anything. Say something.
Just do something.
Say something. Should I start us off first story?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so I went to Smith's, which is a grocery store in our neighborhood. And it was kind of late at night, and there was a couple walking past the eggs and looking down. And the husband looked like somebody in my neighborhood. I thought it was him. The wife was turned around. And I started talking to him in Portuguese because I speak Portuguese, and this guy spoke Portuguese. And he looked at me and he said, he said something, but it didn't register what he was saying. I thought, well, maybe I just didn't understand his Portuguese because I don't speak Portuguese very well. Anyway, so I was kind of confused, and then his wife turned around. Now, at the time, I didn't know it was his wife. She told me later that they were married. But she turned around and she said, oh, he has an identical twin. You must be mixing him up with his identical twin, which I knew I wasn't when I saw him. When I started talking to him, like, oh, this isn't the guy I know. But anyway, she seemed quite a bit younger, like maybe in her 50s. And the husband, she said, was 82. And he had Alzheimer's. Wow. And she was caring for him. and she was taking him with her to the store, and he could not say a word that was a meaningful word. He just he looked in your face. He said things that like he knew what he was doing, and you totally thought he was talking to you, but he couldn't speak anymore. And I just, like, my heart just went out to this woman because what she was doing was so amazing. And she's like, he remembers me. He knows who I am. And she said, he was a professional man. He was a counselor, a therapist, and now she was taking care of him. And just to think about that burden. And I said something dumb like, I told her, I said, it's amazing what you're doing. And just want you to know that somewhere in the universe, there's somebody that's pretty impressed with the offering that you're making. And I walked away. Then I'm like, I'm so dumb. Why did I not say, hey, do you want to come worship with us? Or what can I do? How can I help you? I just was like, and then I was just ticked at myself the whole rest of the day because I was like, if anybody needed help or a hand, it was her. And I just I didn't say anything because I don't know why. Why did I not say something? Lameness. I don't know. So anyway, I thought, that's something that the Lord can't do for me. He can't make me say something. Afterwards, I'm like real clear. I should have said something. Duh. I would want somebody to say something to me. If I don't know, but anyway, we have to get up and do stuff. The Lord can't do it for us, and people need us. And if they don't want what we're offering, at least they know that we care about it, and that means we care about
cares.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our friends of a different faith, our Christian friends I listen to this miracle podcast, of course. And on this podcast, and we're a little bit different. We're from, we're not from the South, but these are Christians that are like, they'll stop someone in the grocery store. Can I pray for you? And this one guy was sharing an experience he had. He said, he felt he was on the phone with somebody on the airlines and trying to get a ticket resolved or trying to fix something. And he just had this impression that he needed to ask her if he could pray for her. And he pushed it aside probably 3 times.
That would have been me, probably.
And well, that's awkward. I think for me, I've never done that before. So, but these are of our faith. These are our good Christian faith people who do this all the time. And so finally he said, I know this is weird, but I just have this feeling that I need to pray for you. And she said, okay. And so he did. He prayed over her and prayed for her that, things would get better. He said she sounded like she wasn't feeling very well. So he prayed that she would get better. And sometimes you do these things and you do not see what happens on the other end. But this experience, he got a little insight what happened because a year later, this woman had been searching for him and she found him on Facebook. And she said, I just wanted to write you a little note and tell you how much that prayer impacted my life. I was in a very, very dark place, and it kind of pushed me back into the arms of Jesus. I wanted to develop more of a relationship with God, and that was my turning point. So to have these impressions to do something and to follow through with it, it blesses everybody. It blesses us. It blesses our relationship with the Father because we're listening. We were talking a little bit earlier, Christian and I, and what we're trying to do is build a relationship with the Lord, and if you were to just step back a little bit and look at your relationships that you have with people, what does that look like? Like, does that look like a friend that calls up and says, look, let's go to lunch on Wednesday? And then Wednesday comes and you get a text, sorry, I can't come. And so you reschedule it for next Wednesday. And then you get another text, sorry, I know we were going to do it. Something came up. And pretty soon, this is kind of the regular with that friend. Well, at some point you say, maybe I'm not going to keep rescheduling and have it never work out. Not that God says, hey, I'm going to reschedule and I'm not going to do this anymore, because he's there all the time. He wants us to communicate with him. He wants to build this relationship with us, and he will never give up on us. But we're missing out on something fantastic if we don't take these initial steps to really listen to what he's saying and do something, whether it's, hey, go take cupcakes to the neighbor, or hey, go do these little things, or hey, speak to this person in the grocery store.
Easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we just don't know the end result of what will happen, but the value there is following through. And I think too, when we follow through and as we're building this relationship with the Lord, we start to hear him a little bit better. Our ears that we can only hear with what's around us then become a little bit more in tune to what he's telling us and what he's trying to say.
And he doesn't always have to tell us what to do. I mean, like, and he does tell us what to do sometimes when we can't know what to do. But oftentimes, you know, we have enough instruction to say, for the Lord to say, you know, if you've fed the least of these, if you've clothed them, if you've visited them, I mean, that's about as much direction as we need. Reach out.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't have to say, go to your neighbor's house and clean her shower for her because she fell down. Now, if he might say so and so fell down, and see what he's going to see what we do. You know, he's going to say, I wonder if she'll use her initiative to follow up, you know, and sometimes he doesn't. He just lets us find out, and then he watches to see what we do. So that puts a lot of responsibility on us. But it also, you know, when you do something hard and you follow through, it's the most amazing feeling. And you just feel so happy because you did something in tune with God. And he knows it and you know it, and it's just an amazing feeling, and vice versa when you don't.
Yeah, you know, this whole thing kind of reminds me of a story that I read once with Thomas Monson. He was I don't know if he was the president of the church at the time, but he had this experience. He was working out in his gym, and he heard this voice simply tell him, you got to go see your friend at this recovery place or rehab place. This guy had lost both of his legs due to probably some type of disease. I'm not sure what the disease was, but he was in a wheelchair, and he thought, okay, I'm gonna follow this thought. And
so he had to close down the exercise, change his clothes, go over, not knowing what was going to happen.
Yeah. So he went over there, and he went into his buddy's room, and nobody was there. So he asked the desk, well, where's my friend? And they said, oh, he's gone down to the pool area. And so he went down to the pool area. He saw his buddy. He had his wheelchair over kind of by the deep end of the pool, and he went over there and talked to him. They had a nice conversation. You know, he took him back, wheeled him back to his room. I think he gave him a blessing and just really just connected and said, I'm so glad I came to see you. And that was that. I think it was a couple months later, he received a letter. And in the letter, he said, you know, it was such a blessing that you came. I know you didn't understand what I was going through. I was really, really, I felt alone, that I was struggling through not having these legs and being able to do what I could do in the past. And I felt really alone and didn't know that I really wanted to go on with this life. And I was contemplating just wheeling my wheelchair in the deep end and just kind of ending it. He said, I'm so glad that I didn't, because now I'm spending time with my family and my grandkids and loving life. What a wonderful, wonderful thing that he listened to that impression. And I think sometimes we get these little impressions and we're like, is that from God? Is it from God? And that's really what Kristen's trying to say here is, you know, sometimes we have these thoughts of, oh, I should talk to that guy. He's my neighbor. He's my friend. And, you know, we follow up through it. I think everything that's good comes from God.
Right.
So we can't discount these little impressions that we have. We follow through with them. And in consequence, you know, our relationship with the Father changes. He's able to change us because our intentions are to follow him and to hear him.
That's right. Because we want that relationship, like Jenny was saying, a friendship. It takes more than, you know, I don't know if you've ever had a friend that everybody else is more important to her than you are. And that doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it's just painfully obvious that they would rather be talking to someone else than to you. And so we don't want to do that to the Lord. Like, we want to be serious. This is a big effort, this planet he has made us. And the whole planet is created so that we can show him that we pick him. Pikachu, I choose you, yeah. Right? That's it. And, Satan's doing everything he can to say, oh, over here, look over here. Oh, I have an idea, all these things. And you're just like, okay, keep your eyes on the prize, because the Lord has got everything. He offers everything. He just wants us to help him. And he came here to glorify the Father. Yeah. Jesus Christ, everything he did was to glorify the Father. And so every time we do something good, it glorifies God, and then we're more like Jesus. So that's why it feels so good when you actually step out of your comfort zone and do something like that, something scary.
Yeah. We know it's a little bit challenging. I think some of us have, I'm really talking about myself, have anxiety to talk to strange people that we don't know. But it's always nice to just ask the Lord just in the morning, look, I want to be a tool in your belt. I know we've said that before. Let me be a tool in your belt. And there will be something that comes up during the day that you're going to be able to glorify him throughout the day, whether it's saying hello to somebody. I know I've said before, sometimes I can just feel down in the dumps and someone will lean out of their storefront and say, hey, just thinking about you, good seeing you. And it turns our day around. Those good things are inspired of God.
So well. Little, so
small.
Small and simple things.
Yep. So our challenge to you today is take a minute in the morning and ask the Lord if you can be a part of his team this day, and that if he'll put you in the walk of somebody else, you can bless their life. And that's my challenge for today. And we'll catch you next time. Have a good one. I do this every time, like I can't see the stop button.